So I want to talk to you guys about something very important and something that will be crucial to you as you embark on your journey to become the self-actualized man, the real man that you know that you can become. And it's this concept of continuous improvement. Now, this is something that you might think is basic, it's fundamental, it's something that every man knows, but you'd be surprised at how many men, myself included at one point, have this idea where we think we once we do the work once we achieve a milestone, like a huge milestone once, the work ends there, and we've checked that off, and that thing doesn't need to be worried about anymore. And that mindset couldn't be further from the truth, because what you have to understand is that you're always the way that one of my favorite books of all time, Psycho Cybernetics, has described this is that we are goal seeking machines. That's a very crude way of putting it, because we're obviously more than that, but uh, it helps us understand why we go through periods of depression, why we go through periods of like my life is meaningless, like there's nothing going on, I don't feel fulfilled. So I hope this concept will really help you with understanding why that happens. So coming back to that concept of goal seeking machines, what you have to understand is that anytime you achieve a goal, anytime you check that off your box, what you do in your mind is you close a loop. So imagine just like something that's like an open loop, and you're always trying to, with every goal that you're trying to achieve, you're always trying to close that loop. And once you do, and it could be something big, it could be something small, that thing, it just kind of evaporates from our minds. We don't think about it, we don't reflect on it, unless we're being very conscious and we understand the process behind goal setting. We don't really revisit it. We just leave it as it is. um, and that's good in the sense that that's what we want to do as human beings. We want to achieve a bunch of goals. But if you don't have an overarching mission, if you don't have something that's driving you, that's keeping you engaged and motivated, and something that you're working towards every single day, then you're just going to have a bunch of small, like little goals that you've achieved, and you've closed a bunch of small loops. Something that as mundane as like brushing your teeth, or like having breakfast, or like checking your email. That those are such small loops that it doesn't move the needle forward, and it keeps us in the state of like, I feel like I'm doing stuff, but I'm not really getting anywhere. I'm sure that you guys have experienced that as well, where you're just like going through life, you're going through the motions, and you're just feeling like your life is on autopilot. That's a term that we use sometimes. It's just like we talk amongst ourselves, and it's like, yeah, like life's on autopilot right now, and that's because you don't have a big overarching goal that you're working towards, a large open loop, and you're not seeking, you're not working towards that goal every single day. And where the concept of continuous improvement falls into this is that we almost have to manufacture goals sometimes. Like there's not going to be a mission that's handed to us. That's never going to happen in our lives. Sure, maybe in past times where we had rites of passage and there was an expectation within the tribe or the community to step up to the plate as a man, you could be handed a mission from your elders to be like, hey, go hunt this animal in 3 days or whatever, like, or go survive in the wilderness for a month, and if you come back, we'll accept you back into the tribe. But we don't have that anymore. The rites of passage today, if any, I don't think there are any, to be honest. And there, you have to make it a very conscious effort to really initiate yourself into manhood. And you almost can't do this by yourself, because to be a man, you have to be accepted by other men, who recognize you as like, okay, we accept him as someone of our tribe. That just doesn't happen anymore. I know, and I'm speaking in terms of like tribes and elders and all this kind of stuff. Look at the overarching picture that I'm trying to tell you. The mission that we must embark upon, if we do not have a community, if we do not have other men in our lives, we have to create that. And I don't have to tell you that there are so many men who are suffering from just being overweight, having like tons of belly fat, brain fog, they're not fulfilled, they're like addicted to various stuff, they're just like wasting their time. There's so many problems out there that we can solve, and this is just like within the masculinity space. There's so many other like tangible real business world problems that we can solve as well. you know Providing services to businesses, or lead gen, or all this kind of stuff, like different business models that are out there. There's tons of things that we can work on. So it really comes down to what are you doing in this present moment that is your big mission at this very moment right now. Because if you don't have one, that's where that depression and just like life feeling meaningless and just like life like the days start blurring together. It just that comes into play. There is a good days blurring together where you're just like so in flow and you're just like you've been on the same mission for like 10 days straight and you just like forget to eat and all this kind of stuff. That's a good thing. That's where we want to be ideally. But the other side of it is where you just like going through, you're going to work and you're coming home and you maybe hit the gym and then you just like put this on repeat every single day. And maybe you catch yourself at certain points in the day where you're like pouring your tea or something and it's just like, I've done this like 100 million times. Like I cannot, like, what's going on here? And I say that because like I've had those moments. I still do at some point where I'm just like going through my day. I catch myself. I'm just like, what is going on? Why am I not like? Why is this small thing that I'm working on? Why is this the only task that I have to complete? Why isn't there like a bigger thing that's on my mind that makes me forget that I even have to like take care of myself and groom myself? And I don't want you guys to think that you need to become a caveman to achieve your goals. That's not what I'm saying. But anyone who's taken on something serious, anyone who's taken on something that really occupies your mental state, and it's like the only thing you think about, you'll know. You'll know, like you'll just like forget about doing everything else, and this is that one thing that you're focused on for the majority of your day. And for me, if you guys are wondering like, hey, what's that for me? That's fitness, and fitness specifically helping other guys get in shape. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I've done. That's what I feel drawn to. I feel like that's my calling. That's my mission at the present moment for sure. I can't say that I'm going to do that for the rest of my life, but at this present moment, given the skill set that I have, given the need that's out there for relatable, for genuine and enthusiastic men to step up and coach others to help become better versions of themselves physically, that's something I feel drawn to. And when I'm not recording these videos or I'm not like going through my day, that's the only thing I'm kind of focused on. Just like, hey, what resources can I create? And just so you guys are, I keep you guys in the loop. I'm going to be doing more breakdowns, more tactical breakdowns when it comes to fitness. So that's going to be stuff on nutrition, on the best training programs, on just supplements, all these different things that guys kind of worry about. And they're just like, I wish I had this one stop shop where I could go and I could learn from someone who's been through the trenches in terms of like understanding fitness. I will be doing those once a week for sure. That's something I do want to start out with. Just like a deep dive into something very tactical, something that you guys can come back to over and over again and use as a resource. And obviously, it's gonna be on YouTube, no paywall, no email list, no nothing. Like you can just access it and you can benefit from that. But that's what I'm talking about. Like that stuff, that kind of creating those resources, that puts me in a state of flow. So even if like the day is going crappy and I'm not haven't achieved a bunch of other stuff, I know that once I go into deep flow state, I can just that's the mission I'm working on, and I feel so fulfilled in that moment. And something else that came to my mind is that feeling of like, oh, life is meaningless and what am I doing? Why am I so lethargic? Why am I so lazy? You don't feel that when you're doing uncomfortable stuff. You only feel that when you're surrounded by comfort and you're not in a state of like, I need to get out of this. The perfect example of this is like when you're doing a heavy lift. Like if you're doing a heavy squat or like a heavy bench or heavy shoulder overhead press or something like that, in that moment when you're going through that rep, that last rep that you need to kind of just grunt out, you're not depressed in that moment. Sure, maybe before, maybe after, but like in that moment right there, you are not depressed. You are not anxious. You are nothing. You're just in flow. You're living life. You're fully immersed in the present moment. And that's something that a lot of guys we have these resources on hand in terms of like training and putting and working on something that's bigger than ourselves, but we don't take advantage of this because we think, oh, it's too much work. But that's exactly what we need stuff like that to force ourselves into the present moment and to really just start appreciating what life is all about. Because and this is going to become kind of philosophical or whatever, or just like very spiritual, but the only thing we have is the present moment. That's the only thing we have. The past doesn't exist As of you watching this video right now, the past does not exist. The 5 minutes that you've watched, or like whatever the 10 minutes you watched of this video, they don't really exist. What you made, what you did with them, that does matter. That does affect your present moment. But the future doesn't exist either. The future is something that will become the present. The future as a reality does not exist. It's just this weird kind of thing that once you start thinking about it, it's kind of like you just like, if you've ever contemplated what is infinity like, you just like start getting into this weird rabbit hole of like, what is that really like? Like I can't even wrap my head around that. But coming back to tangible stuff, coming back to something that will really help you guys a lot. Bring yourself into the present moment. Start appreciating your life. Start experiencing what life is all about by taking on challenge, by taking on something that pushes you out of your comfort zone. It could be something like cold shower. It can be something like a walk in the morning at 6 a.m. when on a weekend when that's the last thing you want to be doing. It could be a hard workout. Or if you're more spiritually inclined, it could be prayer. It could be just really bringing yourself into that moment. It could be meditation. These things, yes, they're not sexy. They're not, something that you can monetize necessarily. But it is something that makes you start appreciating life and starts bringing meaning into your life. And that's what a lot of guys are missing. We might accomplish certain things. We might have the nice job, or like, we got the girl, or whatever the case is. But once the shine wears off, it's like, okay, like I'm back in the routine of things. Like, why do I still feel unfulfilled? What's going on with my life? And it's that continuous process of bringing yourself into the present moment. And once you tie that in with continuous improvement, then your life is just set in the sense that you always know that if I'm not feeling fulfilled, if something's not working, okay, it's because I don't have a mission. There's not something I'm working on right now. Or if I am working on something, I'm not working on it enough, or I don't have enough of a challenge within that arena for me to feel fulfilled, and for me to be in that present, for me to be in that present state, to be fully present within that moment. That's pretty much it. Like I can't. There's nothing more to really say on this topic. Like you have to really go out and experience these things. So for something tangible that you guys can work on. If you're watching this on Friday, going into the weekend, look at your life. Do a deep dive. Sit down for like 20, 30 minutes, or even just go on a long drive or something, and just really look at what is my life really all about right now. Is it work? Is it what am I really striving towards? Because if you go back to what I said earlier in the video, we are goal seeking machines. We are designed by God to seek out goals. We're not supposed to just like have everything checked off. As counterintuitive as that might sound, we're not supposed to have everything ticked off. And in this modern age where everything is ticked off for us in terms of our basic survival needs, and we don't have to worry about anything, like you could realistically go a week without like getting out of your room, or even your bed, and you would have every need fulfilled. You'd be fed, you'd have enough water, you'd be in a climate controlled environment, nothing would be off. That is not how we're supposed to live. It's just such a meaningless existence. Like just to survive and just to have our basic needs met, that's just such a I don't know what to call it, but it's just like such a base way of living. So if you feel called to something greater than yourself, then explore that.